It's 2 in the morning and the house is silent. Then you hear it from the corner of the room. Slurp, slurp, slurp. Your dog is chewing at their paw like it's the only thing in the world that matters. You whisper their name, they stop for a few seconds, and then right back to it. By morning, the fur between their toes is stained a rusty pink, and you are exhausted, and so are they. If this sounds familiar, I want you to know something before we go any further. You are not a bad pet owner, and your dog is not just itchy. There is very likely something specific happening under the surface, something most allergy pills were never built to fix. So, let's talk about it honestly. Most pet owners who deal with this have already been through the cycle. A vet visit, a steroid shot, or a daily allergy pill, maybe an e-collar, and for a little while, it works. The chewing calms down. You breathe again, then a few weeks later, it's back, sometimes worse than before. That cycle is exhausting, and it's expensive, and it makes you feel like you're failing your dog, even though you're doing everything you were told to do. Here's the thing nobody explains clearly enough. An allergy pill can turn down the itch signal in the brain. It doesn't touch what's actually living on the skin. And in a huge number of chronic paw licking cases, what's actually living on the skin is a yeast overgrowth, not a pollen allergy at all. Before we go further, since we're talking about paw and skin issues today, I want you to know the guide I put together has a full section dedicated to exactly this: skin, coat, and grooming issues, broken down by what's normal, what's a warning sign, and what home care actually helps versus what just masks the problem. It's linked in the description if you want to keep it on hand while we go through this. Okay, let's get into it. If you care about your dog's health, this is exactly the kind of thing we cover here every week, so consider subscribing to Puppy's Health so you don't miss the next one. The allergy trap. When a dog comes in constantly licking or chewing their paws, the standard approach is often an anti-itch medication. These medications can be genuinely helpful for dogs with true environmental allergies, and I'm not here to tell you to throw them away. But think of it this way. If your car's check engine light comes on and you put a piece of tape over the light disappears. The engine problem doesn't. The moment that tape comes off, the light is back, often brighter than before. That's what's happening with a lot of chronic lickers. The itching keeps returning because the root cause was never addressed. It was just quieted for a while. Meet the real culprit. Here's a strange but genuinely useful test. Gently pick up your dog's paw and take a smell. Does it smell a little like corn chips? A little musty? A little like old cheese? Pet owners describe this constantly, and it has a name. It's often called Frito feet, and it's one of the more reliable signs of a yeast overgrowth on the skin, most commonly a yeast species called Malassezia. Yeast loves warm, damp, dark places, and the space between a dog's toes is basically a perfect little greenhouse for it. When yeast overgrows there, it becomes intensely itchy and uncomfortable. So, the dog does the only thing they know how to do: they lick. But a dog's mouth is warm and moist, which means every lick adds more moisture to the exact spot where yeast thrives. The licking doesn't relieve the problem, it feeds it. Over time, the saliva combined with the yeast can stain the fur a reddish-brown or pink color, especially on lighter-coated dogs. That staining is often the first visual clue something is off, beyond just watching the licking itself. Bella's owner brought her in after 2 years of on-and-off allergy medication. Bella's paws were stained dark. Her ears were often waxy and warm, and she'd shake her head several times a day. Her owner had assumed it was grass or dust or the new carpet. A simple paw swab told a different story. A heavy yeast presence, not a pollen reaction. Once the actual cause was addressed, Bella's paws cleared up in a matter of weeks, and for the first time in a long time, she slept through the night without chewing. Stories like Bella's are common, and I share them not to scare you, but because recognizing the pattern is often the first step toward actually fixing it. Warning, signs to watch. For a few things worth paying attention to, beyond the licking itself: a musty or corn chip smell around the paws or ears, reddish or pink staining on light-colored fur, especially between the toes, frequent head shaking or ear scratching, since yeast tends to travel to warm, moist areas like the ears, armpits, and belly folds. Skin that looks greasy, flaky, or has a slightly thickened texture, And licking that seems to spike at night or during humid weather. None of these on their own confirm anything for certain. But together, they paint a pretty clear picture, and they're worth mentioning to your vet by name if you notice them. Here's what most pet owners never realize. The paw licking itself usually isn't the actual problem. It's a symptom of something happening deeper in the body, often starting in the gut. Quick pause here, because this connects directly to what we just covered. That guide I mentioned also walks through the full safe versus dangerous foods chapter, and a section on natural remedies and supplements that are actually backed by evidence, which pairs really well with what we're about to talk about next. The diet piece of this puzzle. It's linked below if you want to follow along. Now, back to the pause. If this is helping you understand your dog a little better, a quick like helps more pet owners find this video too. Where the yeast comes from. Yeast is a living organism, and like anything living, it needs fuel. Its favorite fuel happens to be sugar. Now, you're probably thinking, I don't feed my dog sugar. But here's the part that surprises most people. To make dry kibble hold its shape, pet food manufacturers rely on carbohydrate binders. Things like corn, wheat, rice, potatoes, peas, or tapioca. Even a lot of grain-free kibble is still carbohydrate heavy, just from a different source. Once your dog eats that kibble, those carbohydrates break down into glucose, sugar the body has to deal with. And research suggests that yeast in the gut can feed on exactly that kind of sugar surplus, allowing it to multiply and, in some dogs, migrate toward the skin and extremities, especially the paws and ears. Vets often connect this to something called leaky gut, where an imbalanced gut lining becomes more permeable than it should be, allowing small amounts of yeast and irritants to enter the bloodstream and trigger a wider inflammatory response. The body then tries to push some of that out through the skin, particularly through the sweat glands and the paws. So the itchy paw isn't really the disease. It's the visible tip of something starting much further inside. The two-step fix. I want to be really clear here before we go further. None of what follows is meant to replace a proper vet visit, especially if the redness, swelling, or odor is severe, or if your dog seems to be in real pain. Always loop your vet in, particularly for anything that looks infected or isn't improving. What follows is meant to support that care, not replace it. Step 1. Immediate relief. Yeast struggles to survive in an acidic environment, so a simple soak can offer real, fast relief while you work on the deeper cause. Pick up a bottle of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, the kind labeled with the mother, in a shallow tub or basin. Mix 1 part vinegar with 2 parts warm water. If the paws look raw or irritated, dilute it further. 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water. Let your dog stand in the mixture for about 5 minutes, making sure it reaches between the toes. Afterward, dry the paws completely and thoroughly using a towel, and, if your dog tolerates it, a hair dryer on a cool setting. This last step matters more than people expect. Yeast thrives on moisture, so leaving paws damp can undo the benefit almost immediately. Many owners repeat this once daily for about a week and notice the odor fading and the redness calming within days. Step 2. The deeper fix. This is the part that actually prevents it from coming back. Take a look at your dog's current food. If corn, wheat, or soy sit near the top of the ingredient list, it may be worth discussing a transition toward a higher quality, meat-forward diet with your vet, whether that's a premium kibble, a fresh cooked option, or a gently cooked or freeze-dried diet with fewer starchy fillers. Alongside that, many vets recommend a good quality, pet-specific probiotic, ideally one containing a beneficial yeast strain called Saccharomyces boulardii, which appears to help crowd out the problematic yeast and support a healthier gut lining. Digestive enzymes are sometimes recommended too, helping the body fully process food so there's less leftover fuel for yeast to feed on. Healing the gut this way typically takes several weeks, not days, so patience matters here. But dogs who go through this full process often see their skin issues resolved not just temporarily, but for good. When to see a vet. Please don't treat any of this as a substitute for a real diagnosis. See your vet if the paws are swollen, oozing, or intensely painful to the touch, if there's a strong odor that doesn't improve with a few soaks, if your dog is limping or reluctant to walk, or if the licking is constant and doesn't pause even briefly. A vet can confirm a yeast overgrowth with a simple skin swab, rule out other causes like a true environmental allergy or a bacterial infection, and prescribe something stronger if needed. Home care works best alongside professional guidance, not instead of it. Prevention, going forward. Once things calm down, a few habits go a long way. Dry your dog's paws thoroughly after walks in wet grass or rain. Keep the fur between the toes trimmed short so moisture doesn't get trapped. Keep an eye on ingredient lists when choosing food. And do a quick paw and ear check every week or two, just a quick sniff and look, so you catch anything early before it becomes a 2 a.m. chewing session again. I know this was a lot to take in. Diet changes, soaks, probiotics. It can feel like a lot, especially when you're exhausted from watching your dog struggle. But here's what I want you to hold on to. You are your dog's only advocate. They can't tell you what's wrong in words, but their paws, their skin, their behavior, it's all communication if you know what to look for. And now you do. If this helped you, I want you to know that skin and paw issues are really just one small piece of what it takes to care for a dog, well, from the puppy stage all the way through their senior years. The guide I've mentioned throughout this video covers all of it in one place, so you're never left searching around online at 2 in the morning, wondering what's normal and what's not. It's linked right below this video. Does your dog have Frito feet? Have you been stuck in that allergy pill cycle before? Tell me about it in the comments. I read everyone. And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below. You've been watching Puppy's Health. This is James Carter. Subscribe for daily pet health tips. The information in this video is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional veterinary advice. Always consult your veterinarian regarding your pet's health.